Hey guys, here we are again with the Detective Camp from the A to Z Mysteries by Ron Roy. Today I'm going to read Chapter 7. Millions, Josh said. Mademoiselle nodded.
Grandma Moses was becoming well known before she died. Now that she's been dead for years, she's very famous.
That's not a good voice, I'm sorry.
How come she painted on wood instead of canvas?
Dink asked. He pointed to the smoothly cut edges of the Grandma Moses painting.
That is not wood,
Mademoiselle Musset said.
Grandma Moses lived in the country and could not buy artist canvases, but she had fiberboard in her barn, so she often used that. It is thin, but very hard.
How long does it take you to clean a painting? Josh asked.
Perhaps 2 days for one this size, Mademoiselle answered. Longer if I have to make repairs.
How do you do that? Dink asked.
The canvas can become cracked or even ripped,
Mademoiselle explained.
Or when it's on fiberboard, the paint sometimes flakes off. I make the repairs, then paint over the damaged places. Guys, we'd better get back to our cabins, Ruth Rose said. Thanks a lot, Mademoiselle Musset. It is nothing,
the woman said. The kids hurried out of the lodge and ran toward the cabins.
It's time for chores, Ruth Rose said. I'll see you later, okay?
The guys nodded and walked to their own cabin. They found Buzzy taping a paper on the door next to the schedules. Hey guys, this is a chore list. All 8 of you have to pitch in, but it shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. Dink and Josh read the list. Next to Josh's name, Next to Josh's name, they read sweep front porch. Dink saw that his job was to straighten up the books and game shelf. Where are the brooms? Josh asked Buzzy. It's in the closet inside the wash house, Buzzy told him. Josh hiked over while Dink began organizing the games and books. The other 6 boys were sweeping, dusting, smoothing out sleeping bags, and straightening their cuppies. 10 minutes later, everyone was finished. Super job, guys. It's time to head back to the lodge for your clues to find the mystery map, said Buzzy as he looked at his watch. They all ran to the picnic tables. When everyone was there, Angie stood on a bench and held up a paper bag.
We've already hidden the 26 map pieces, she said. Now you can pick your clue cards that will help you find them.
She walked around and let each kid put a hand in the bag and pull out a card. Dink's card was had a huge B written on the front. He turned the card over and found a feather taped there.
What did you get?
Dink asked Josh and Ruth Rose, showing them his card.
I got a G,
Ruth Rose said,
with a flower petal on the back.
Mine is an M, Josh said. He flipped the card over and found some brownish hairs taped in place.
Okay, everyone, has a card now. The letter is one clue, and the item on the back is the second clue. Have fun! This is so cool, Ruth Rose said, but I think mine is too easy. G must be standing for garden.
Yeah, but which garden? Dink asked. There are flowers planted everywhere. Dink took another look at his card and the feather on the back.
What do you guys think?
Easy, bird bath, Josh said.
It could also be the birdhouse or bird feeder, Ruth Rose said. Whose clue should we do first?
Mine, Dink said. Why you? Josh asked.
Because these are alphabetical clues, and Dink comes before Josh and Ruth Rose in the alphabet.
Dink announced.
Okay, let's go see where the birds hang out, Ruth Rose said.
The kids walked around the lodge. They waved to other kids wandering around with white cards in their hands. They found a hummingbird feeder, but saw no ripped pieces of map. They peeked inside a birdhouse, but saw only twigs and dead grass. Look, Josh said. He pointed to a few birds splashing in a bird bath. The kids rushed over, scaring the birds into a nearby tree. The bird bath was made of a concrete bowl standing on a pedestal. I don't see a map piece, or a piece of map, Josh said. Dink tipped the water out and removed the bowl. Underneath, stuck there with masking tape, was a piece of paper. I found it, he cried. They all looked at the fragment of paper. Its pieces were torn on all sides but one. That side had a dark blue line. Some pencil lines had been drawn on the paper, but they made no sense. 1 down, 25 to go, Dink said. Let's look for a garden, Ruth Rose said, glancing at her own card. Wait a sec, Josh said. He found a hose attached to the lodge and filled the bird bath with clean water. The kids roamed around the lodge, checking out flower beds. They saw plenty of flowers, but no map pieces. Ruth Rose studied the petal that was taped to the back of her card. She smelled it and rubbed her finger across the surface. This looks like some of my grandmother's roses, she said. Let's look for roses. On the south side of the lodge, in full sunlight now, stood 3 rose bushes. Each held several pink petals. Ruth Rose compared the little blooms to the petal on her card. I can't tell if they're the same. This petal is drying up. There was a ring of smooth rocks surrounding the small garden. Ruth Rose began looking under each rock. She found a map piece under the last one. The kids stared at the piece of paper in Ruth Rose's hand. It was the same kind of paper Dink had found under the bird bath. This piece had 4 letters written on it in black letters. E-T, A-T, and F-R. Josh said. That must be parts of words. I wonder if the other kids are finding their pieces, Dink said, looking around. Kids were all over the camp, each one carrying a card. Let's look for yours now, Josh, Ruth Rose said. They studied the hairs that were taped on his card. M could stand for a lot of things, like marshmallow, Josh said. Marshmallows don't have hair, Ruth Rose reminded him. Duh. Do you think these are human hairs? Dink asked. Oh my gosh, they could be some of Mario's mustache. Or Mademoiselle Mousset's hair, Ruth Rose said. No, these hairs are light brown with a little white. She has black hair, and Mario's mustache is very dark brown. They could be bristles from some kind of brush, Dink said. I saw a lot of... Who's reading? Hold on. Who's speaking? Yep. Sorry. I saw a lot of paint cans in the barn, and there are a bunch of brushes hanging on the wall, Ruth Rose said. We could try there. But what about this M? Josh asked, tapping his card. Maybe the brushes have labels, Dink suggested. We might find an M on a label. It's worth a look, Josh said. The kids ran to the barn and peered in. A few other kids were in there searching through stuff. Any luck? One of Ruth Rose's cabin mates asked. We found... Excuse me. We found 2, Ruth Rose said. Cool. Some of the boys in Bear Cabin have found 4 already. Josh stood on a box and examined the row of upside-down paintbrushes. Some of the brush handles had labels, but none of the labels had an M. The hairs on his card didn't match any of the brushes. What about some kind of brush? Some other kind of brush, Dink said, studying Josh's clue card. My dad used to have a shaving brush made of badger hairs. I wonder if Mario uses one. The kids raced to the kitchen. They found Mario stirring a big pot. How's your treasure hunt going? He asked. That's not the right voice. I'm sorry, I can't remember it. We found two, but we're having a hard time with this one, Josh said. He showed Mario the M on his card and the hairs on the back. Do you have a shaving brush like this? Mario glanced at the card. Nope, I use an electric razor, he said. Well, thanks anyway, Josh said. The kids sat on the steps facing the barn. Guys, we're stupid, Dink said. All of a sudden, M is for moose, and there's a moose head over the fireplace in the dining room. I bet these are moose hairs. The kids raced through the kitchen and into the dining room. Mademoiselle Musset was gone. The small painting she had shown them on the table were partly cleaned. Now they could see a row of trees and some clouds. How do I get up there to Mr. Moose? I'll see if Mario has a stepladder, Ruth Rose said. She scampered back toward the kitchen. There were framed photographs, vases, and other small objects on the mantel below the moose head. Josh began looking under or inside each one. Dink peeked into the great room to see if Mademoiselle was there. She was not. But Dink noticed several framed paintings stacked on a sofa. He could only see the top of one. A picture of some Native Americans walking along a path near a river. To Dink, the picture looked freshly cleaned. He assumed Mademoiselle Musset had put these here to be rehung on the walls of the great room. Got one, Ruth Rose said, carrying a metal stepladder over to Josh. He climbed on it and held his held his card up to the hairs on the moose's face and beard. The color looks right, but the moose hairs are thicker than these, Josh said. He tugged a few hairs from the moose head. He came down off the ladder. Say, he said, holding the moose hairs next to those on the card. Mine are thinner. How about artist paintbrushes? Ruth Rose said. Some of my grandfather's brushes have hairs that look like the ones on Josh's card. Maybe, and this M could stand for Mademoiselle Musset. She has some brushes in her trunk. Yeah, but she wouldn't want us messing with them, Dink said. Josh walked over Mademoiselle's trunk, and Dink followed him. There were faded labels on the side and top. One of the labels said property of Mern the Magician. Who's Mern? Josh asked. Maybe Mademoiselle Musset got the trunk from a magician, Dink said. He could have kept all his magic stuff inside, like she does her cleaning things. The upright trunk was closed. On the left side, there were 3 latches that held the lid shut. Should we open it? Ruth Rose asked, standing next to Josh. We wouldn't touch anything. Just look for the map piece, right? I guess it wouldn't hurt anything to just take a quick peek, Dink said. There's no lock on it. Josh reached out and flipped the top latch. The lid stayed shut. He flipped the next latch, and the lid swung open, sideways, like a door. But instead of shelves holding jars and other supplies, the kids were looking at the Grandma Moses painting. There was a secret compartment inside the door of the trunk. What's this doing here? Dink asked. Why hasn't she hung it back on the wall? There are more paintings behind this one, Josh said. Dink counted 5 other Grandma Moses. Maybe she stores them in the hollow door until she's ready to frame them again? Ruth Rose suggested. Dink reached out a finger and touched the paint on the Grandma Moses painting. It was dry. He ran his thumb along the edges of the fireboard. They felt rough and bumpy. A thought was trying to force its way out of Dink's brain. He knew it was important by the way his arms erupted into goosebumps, but before he could pin the thought down, he heard footsteps on the stairs. Mademoiselle Musset, Ruth Rose mouthed. Dink swung the trunk lid shut and flipped the latches back into place.
Let's go before she sees us,
Dink whispered to Josh and Ruth Rose. They slipped through the dining room door and headed for their cabins. And that's where I'm going to stop for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed that bit of the story. I did. It's starting to get very interesting. Sounds like Mademoiselle has a dark secret, possibly. I guess we'll find out next time. Maybe. See you tomorrow. Bye.